Welcome to Caleb Can't Read. I'm Jordan Rabel.
I'm Caleb Terrence. You're going to kick over your 40. Just careful with the fucking table.
Well, let me just ask you a hypothetical here. Let's say somebody brings you into your home. They
Brings
feed
you into your home?
You want
to
Look, you broke my shit. You broke my shit.
All right, I don't.
We were having a good time. We were listening to some TLC, and I walked by with a glass. Apparently, you say you tried to kick me in the ass, but instead what happened was you flung the whole fucking glass out of my hand.
You shouldn't have put the glass in the way of my kick.
It's fair enough.
Look, man, can we just be happy that all that was in it was water and not something more viscous?
That's my cup of syrup.
Yeah, that would have sucked. I don't know.
Well, lucky for you, I keep my cup of syrup in my own mini fridge.
Your fucking wife is just get the dog. just don't let the dog over there. Fuck.
What a trooper, my wife.
And your fucking face too, like you were just like, yeah. You were like, yeah, you do that.
Well, no need to explain it.
My bad.
You've got that weird H.P. Lovecraft disorder where you like make a quick little jumping motion.
You just moved too quickly. And
I moved too quickly?
You moved too quickly and it
Wow, that is the nicest thing you have ever said about me, and you can't take that back.
Really? I think I've said, actually, that might be.
Yeah.
That might be.
I figured you would have said, granted, this weird paradox says you move too fast for your fat ass.
Yeah, like, we don't have a friendship where we're nice to each other. We're just like, it's just the verbal abuse that for some reason we find funny.
Yeah, once we moved away from our parents, it was like, where else can I fill this void?
That's true. I don't want to analyze it, man.
Well, let's get started, shall we? You were drinking. Okay, good. All right. Edward Estlin
Smooth
Cummings Edward Estlin Cummings.
Nice.
Was born October 14th, 1894.
You sure you want to open with that? The follow-up might be kind of weak.
What?
It's pretty good.
I could do it smoother.
Okay. Well,
Edward Estlin Cummings was born October 14th, 1894 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. His mother was, as far as I could tell, a housewife named Rebecca. And his father, a sociology professor at Harvard University, also named Edward, and for this reason, young Edward would often go by his middle name, Estlin. He had what seemed to be a great childhood.
He didn't want to go by Cummings?
They call me the Cum Master. He had what seemed like a great childhood, playing with his older sister, Elizabeth, born just 3 years before him, and other kids who, like himself, were from a higher social standing than most. Like the sons of William James, known as the father of American psychology, and Josiah Royce, a well-known philosopher of his day. Young Estlin would often spend his summers on the shores of Silver Lake, New Hampshire, where his father had 2 different houses because they're the whitest people on earth. However, most of their time was spent at the one home called Joy Farm, named after the previous residents, the Joy family. Now, Estlin's parents were devoutly Unitarian, meaning that instead of there being 3 separate entities to God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, there is only one entity, God himself.
So no Triforce there.
Correct.
Okay.
They fucking hated Zelda.
All right.
They were... What?
I'm going to get you off track. I'm sorry. Please proceed.
They were so devout that eventually Estlin's dad quit his job as a sociology professor at Harvard to become a Unitarian preacher full-time. Well, from a young age, Estlin, more than likely resulting from talks with all his fucking buddies who were the sons of philosophers, adopted the idea that there isn't just us and God, but we are all God. Everything is God. Hallelujah!
Okay. It's going to be a weird one, huh?
Yeah, it's off.
Yeah.
Now, little
We're having
Estlin...
an off night, everyone.
Little Estlin was fascinated with poetry, and even from a young age, knew he wanted to be a poet. But I mean, most kids say shit like that and then change their career path a week later. But not Estlin. No, he wrote poetry every single day from the time he was 8 years old until he was 22. I don't know what stopped him in his tracks.
I mean, did he... Sometimes you just get old enough and you look at what you're doing and you're like, actually, I'm ass at this.
That's crazy to have that, that realization from the time that you were 8, though, and you're just like, oh, this was dumb. Like,
I don't know. A group of girls probably laughed at him about it or something. That'll
He's
shut
gay.
it. That'll shut
Oh
it down.
no! Yeah, that'll.
Dude, a group
that'll
of
do it.
women laughing, that's rough. That's
Yeah.
scarring. Something about it. Like,
I mean, did you have any odd, like, what were your prospects when you were a child? Would you want to be?
I don't even remember.
I remember because my teacher had to talk with me afterwards. I said I wanted to be an alligator wrestler.
That's pretty sick.
Right. And
Admirable.
also a real job, mind you. And she said I wasn't allowed to be that. And I cried. I said, I want to do this. And then I'm pretty sure I changed it to like an astronaut a week later. So, whatever. But still, I remember that.
I remember telling my grandpa I wanted to be a lumberjack and him being like, that's fucked up. They kill trees. And
look at you now.
and now I'm like, yeah, that was a dumb decision. Like, that was a very bad idea.
What I find weirder is the arson that you'll commit to kill trees in his name. I find that jarring.
In whose name?
Grandfather. Take this, Grandpa Mike! Alejandro!
Only half of my family isn't white. Why would you assume?
Well, it's got to be one of them. You got at least 4, maybe 6.
Oh, I thought you meant it's got to be one of those fucking Spanish names.
Estlin Cummings graduated from where else but his father's former workplace, Harvard University, in 1915, with a Bachelor's of Art and magna cum laude at the age of just 20.
Bachelor of Farts.
Afterwards, he thought, fuck it, and decided to go back and get his master's just a year later.
Hang on.
What'd you do?
All right, we're back.
You okay, honey?
Yes, Poppy.
Okay. So, just a year after, a year after he gets his Bachelor's of Art and magna cum laude, he decides to go back and, fuck.
Come on.
Okay, anyways,
how
he
the fuck
gets
can
his
you type
bachelor's.
this out and then stumble through it? That's what's maddening to me.
He gets a bachelor's, decides he's going to get his master's a year later. He was fucking speedrunning this shit. All this while also the editor of the Harvard Monthly. He quickly got a job with a book dealer after graduation where he would continue learning about more modernist writings. Books like A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce had come out recently, which broke all rules for conventional grammar, as you'll remember. Mm-hmm. But Estlin wasn't settled in life for long before 1917 rolled around and America entered World War I. Knowing that he could be drafted into much more dangerous options, Estlin enlisted into the ambulance corps. Didn't even know that was an option.
Still dangerous, but you don't have a gun. I don't know. I'm assuming.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they still weren't killing medics yet until like World War II happened, pretty much. But like, yeah, they wouldn't shoot people that were just trying to help out, pretty much. It was like, no, that's against the rules. So our mustard gas.
Right.
Yeah.
That's against the rules. Get the flamethrower. Well, how else am I supposed to get him out of the fucking bunker? Well, if they didn't want me to use a flamethrower, they shouldn't have gotten behind a bunch of layers of
We
steel.
tried hunger, we tried rats, we tried gas. Nothing was working, so I flamed them up.
They have funneled us to flames. Okay? It's on them.
And it was while on an ocean liner on his way to France that Estlin met fellow Ambulance Corps member William Slater Brown, and they became fast friends. Well, due to a scheduling error, both Estlin and Will did not receive a single assignment for their first 5 weeks in Paris. So of course, they spent their time fucking about. It was here in Paris that Estlin swapped many back and forth love letters with French prostitute Marie-Louise Lallemand, starting what he was convinced was a relationship.
That's really unfortunate.
You're right.
It's like you can...
I think this stripper likes me.
Like, how hard is it to find someone to swap love letters with? You have to pay for swapping love letters?
I mean, no. Well, I don't know. I'm sure that he sent her some coins too, which I don't know was insulting or not, but just like, here you go, baby, buy yourself some bread.
I mean, I'm not saying that while engaging in that activity, you're like, all right, let's get down to business, fucking pants off. Like, no, let me talk to you for a minute. But
right.
Yeah.
But
like,
no, I think the whole letter exchange, what was going on there is a lot like when you've already dropped like $500 on a stripper for the night, and she's like, I really like you. Here's my totally not work number, and my real name is, Jennifer. And it's like, both of those things are not true, but now you have what you think is her real number in her real Snapchat, and all it is to fake you into spending more money on her again.
Oh, remember that one guy that one time that did not believe that the stripper didn't actually like him?
You almost fought him.
It's because he was getting aggressive about it, and I was like, dude, like, you need to calm down. Like,
there is no way you're going to get me to believe that you were not the instigator in that.
No, I wasn't. I was not being like super broy, like, bro, you're stupid. I was just like, hey man, like, it's cool, but you should probably back off.
No,
a little
he was
bit.
Probably like 21 and was telling his friends, hey guys, this new experience, this is great. And you just went, ha 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 ha, loser. Like, yeah.
I would never do that.
Lies. You've done it. You spank me on the ass.
I only do that to people that are close to me, like you. Okay.
Well, because Estlin and his buddy Will had the opportunity to meet the locale and shoot the shit with soldiers from the French army, they wrote numerous letters to their folks saying, you know what? Kind of like the French soldiers a lot better than our own guys. Also, haven't really found a reason to hate the Germans quite yet. It was anti-war sentiment such as this that alerted the military censors reading their letters. After 5 months of working for the ambulance corps, Estlin and Will were arrested by the French military under suspicion of espionage.
If you take it one step down from I'm going to kill all of them on sight, then it's just immediate. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
If you're not up here, dude, like,
you try this thing called sauerkraut. But hey, that's fine. Just need to clear things up a little, right?
I mean, there's worse things than, like, being arrested for espionage, like actually having to go into a war zone.
Remember when treason was a punishable offense?
Oh, man.
Well, all you gotta do is talk to the commissioner in charge of reviewing the cases and explain where things went wrong. Unfortunately, the commissioner had just left on assignment 5 days prior and wouldn't be back until November in 2 months' time. But even then, Estlin and Will were held at the detainment facility for the next 3.5 months. Although Estlin was only there for a short time, he met plenty of interesting characters. Like, yeah, there were rapists and murderers there, sure. But there was also, one Norwegian sailor who just got drunk and stole 3 cans of sardines from the ship pantry.
I wonder how many people were laughing at him when he was saying he was going to get love letters from that prostitute. Oh, that would have been good.
Oh, no, it's a prison full of Caleb's, just dumbass.
He's like, no, that's not how this works. It's fine, but it's not how this works.
Oh, honey. And there was a female sector to the prison as well. But some of the women were only there to be in proximity to their husbands on the men's side. For instance, one guy was in there for I can't remember what, but his wife begged that she and her kids be placed inside. The guard told her that if she goes in, she will be treated like a prisoner. She's not going to get special treatment just because she volunteered to be in there. But according to her, she couldn't afford to take care of 3 kids on her own. Quote, it was better that they should grow up with their father as prisoners than starve to death without him. Yeah, it's rough. It's a war-torn country at this point.
It's gnar as fuck, actually.
Well, once they were admitted, one of the kids would not stop climbing shit. Like walls, scaffolding, fucking whatever. And out in the prison yard...
Why won't you just sit still and not do anything and stare at the wall?
I'm 7!
Damn it!
And out in the prison yard...
He found something to do.
He started climbing one of the walls, and the guard went up to the dad like, dude, you realize your son's technically a prisoner, right? Right now, he's scaling the fucking wall. If you don't get him down, I will shoot him for attempting to escape.
Fire a shot across the bow.
Dad's just placing bets. Bet you can't. And one time, the kid's like up a guard tower, and the guards are like just watching him, fully fucking impressed. And they're talking to the dad like, if he falls, you know he's fucked, right? And the dad's just like, I fell out of trees when I was young. So will he. And sure enough,
that's not how that works.
Kid falls straight on his back from very high up. Everyone's watching him like gasping for breath on the ground like, oh fuck, what do we do? And the dad just like nudges the kid with his foot like, you're okay. Everyone falls. Sure enough, kid just gets right up and starts climbing again. Now, the prison yard was essentially a mud patch with about a dozen apple trees that weren't getting any nutrition and actively dying. There was a little guard shelter, a horizontal iron bar for
probably
gymnastics.
Just a bunch of piss.
And a cannonball for a weight.
It's too acidic.
If you wanted to fuck around with the cannonball, you weren't allowed to swing it too fast because it had a habit of accidentally slipping out of the prisoner's hands when the guards walked by.
It's wild they'd let prisoners have like that kind of bludgeon. Like,
but they need like
somebody up with that.
Any weight is a bludgeon, but I mean it's just like here's a single cannonball, share it.
Yeah, but I'm sure like when they have prisoners go like lift weights and shit, which is wild that they let them lift weights in prison and become terrifying. But
I mean, nowadays I get it. It's like, well, yeah, but we have automatic rifles.
Like all these other precautions. You're like, yeah, no, we're making sure there's nothing they can make they can make shivs out of. And you're like, that guy does not need a shiv to fucking kill me. Like, are you kidding me? He's been doing nothing but lift in here for 10 fucking years.
You could technically knock over one of these apple trees and just use that as a bludgeon too. Just I'm sure you're imagining it from a much more real standpoint than I am, having always seen apple trees everywhere I go.
What are you fucking talking about?
You know what? Fuck yourself. You also weren't allowed to swing on the pull-up bar because if you swung too high, you'd be able to see into the women's prison yard over the partition wall. But eventually, the cannonball had to be taken.
They're going to have to let go of enforcing that
one. They eventually had to take away the cannonball because the guys figured out they could use it to break down the partition between the men and women's sides. It swung out of somebody's hands accidentally and it like hit the wall. And it wiggled, and they were like, oh. And the guards immediately were like, no. And when an apple tree actually dropped...
It's like, this is already a very bad situation for them as well. Please do not add in you gawking at them.
When an apple tree actually dropped a withered product from its branches, prisoners would fight over it for like 20 minutes. Not because anyone wanted to eat it, but just for lack of anything better to do.
But for goddamn it, just some fucking funsies.
I'm gonna fuck it. And it was while Estlin was here at the detainment center, his parents were notified that his body had been lost at sea. It took a week for the family to receive another letter that said, oops, our bad, he's actually just in military prison.
I'm so relieved and so angry.
Well, Estlin's dad, understandably upset with this colossal fuck-up, sent a letter directly to President Woodrow Wilson asking for his son to be released. And this would eventually reach the prison, but of course, this is all being conducted over snail mail. So while that was being handled, the commissioner of the French detainment center returned and basically interviewed Estlin, who pretty much said, look, I got arrested by association. My buddy Will is the guy you want. And at long last, the commissioner allowed Estlin to hang around the small commune of Oloron-Sainte-Marie, where the prison was located. But I mean, he was still under suspicion of espionage, so he was followed the whole time he was there.
All I said was I haven't had enough experience to make me literally just blood red when I fucking see them yet, okay?
Basically, instead of house arrest, he was under town arrest. And even though he was in for just a short stint, when Estlin got the clearance to leave, it was kind of a teary-eyed goodbye for everyone. All the prisoners there had really gotten along with him. And although Estlin's father was able to secure his release,
This is such a different prison system than I've come to know.
Well, the war, too, was a bit different. Like, don't worry, I'm with the ambulance corps. Oh, we won't kill you. Don't worry. We won't even... We'll aim 20 yards that way just to make sure that you don't get, any shrapnel or anything.
This shit must have been so fucking frustrating for the dudes that were getting shot at. Like, oh yeah, cool, I'm glad we're being cool about this, everybody. Thank you all a lot. Don't worry, I'll just be over here. Dying.
Although he got his release secured, Estlin didn't want to leave Paris. Not without his lovely Marie-Louise Lallemand.
Oh, cool, we're back to it.
Well, he couldn't find her. Go figure, she's a French prostitute in the early 20th century. She's got places to be. So sadly, Estlin gave up his search and took a ship to New York, arriving on New Year's Day, 1918. His buddy Will was a little less fortunate than him, though. William Brown was transferred to a real prison in Pricine, where he would not be released for another 3 months. Like, not just a holding for soldier guys, but it was like, oh, no, this is a real gotcha with a shiv prison.
It's a real gotcha with a shiv. Or a penis.
Got him. Now, upon his return from Paris, Estlin began a love affair with a married woman 2 years his senior named Elaine Orr. But here's the thing.
2 years?
2 years.
How scandalous.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Estlin was friends with her husband, performed a fucking poem for their wedding, When Estlin was a freshman at Harvard, he was roomed in a dormitory named after this guy's family. But that wouldn't stop Estlin. No, because nobody knew Elaine like he did. Which makes sense, since they were cousins.
Oh. Okay.
Kissing cousins. Now, either because of yet another filing fuck-up or the fact that Estlin was never actually enlisted in the military, remember his job was with the ambulance corps, he wasn't long in America before being drafted for World War I later that year. In boot camp, he served in the 12th Regiment under General McCain, great-granduncle of U.S. Senator John McCain.
Huh.
Wow, a career in war. Who would have thought there was such a thing? Well, luckily, World War I quickly ended before he could actually ship out, and the U.S. military had a sudden surplus of soldiers. The government disbanded the entire regiment, so Estlin was good to go home and get back to Flandern with Elaine. Well, their love affair broke up, the marriage, of course, but I don't think Estlin felt too bad about it. You see, some of his most erotic poems are about this time, and I'm sure he was speaking from experience, if you know what I mean.
Dude, don't pause to lick your lips at me. It just makes me uncomfortable. They can't see that.
Fucked his cousin.
Thanks, I feel better.
Here's a poem of his from this era called As We Lie Side by Side. And please, remember that they are cousins as I read this to you.
Fuck you, man.
As we lie side by side, my little breasts become two sharp, delightful strutting towers, and I shove hotly the lovingness of my belly against you.
Wait. Like, is this from a male perspective?
Yes.
Why are breasts getting... What's...
Oh, he likes his nipples touched, whatever. I don't know. Your arms are young.
That's nipple, not breast.
Your arms will convince me in the complete silence speaking upon my body, their ultimate slender language. Do not laugh at my thighs. There is between my big legs a crisp...
I am exfoliating more. Do not worry about the ingrown hairs.
There is between my big legs a crisp city. When you touch me, it is spring in the city. The streets beautifully writhe. It is
two cousins in a crisp city. Oh, fuck.
Autumn in the crisp city. It is for you. Do not frighten them. All the houses terribly tighten.
Crunchy little cousin leaves.
Upon your coming.
Whoa.
And they are glad as you fill the streets of my city with children. Maybe it is from her perspective.
I think it is, dude. I think you're wrong. That's very clearly... Yeah, you're bad on that one for misleading me.
My love, you are a bright mountain which feels. You are a keen mountain and an eager island whose...
Still, why does he think tits get boners? I never thought I would say that.
You think they had sex ed back then? I mean, come on.
Well, he fucked. He should know.
Those were love letters.
I've never seen a breast get an erection, Jordan.
Hang on. Okay, let me finish this. Lively slopes are based always in me, which is shrugging, which is under you and around you and forever. I am the hugging sea. O mountain, you cannot escape me. Your roots are anchored in my silence. Therefore, O mountain, skillfully murder my breasts. Still and always, I will hug you solemnly into me.
Whoa.
The end.
So, yeah, he's... So wait, hang on. So he's talking from... I mean, clearly this is supposed to be from...
I believe so.
Her perspective.
Unless he likes a squirter.
So he's talking about himself? That's super weird and egotistical.
That's a fair point. That's
like,
that's really gross. Oh, it's the biggest thingy I've ever seen. It's so strong and massive. It's got an elbow. Like, what?
I've never had anything prehensile before. This is fucking amazing.
Well, the couple ended up having a child out of wedlock.
Sick, having a prehensile dong.
With your cousin?
No.
Well, the couple ended up having a child out of wedlock, Nancy Thayer Cummings, on December 20th, 1919. I would also like to point out that Thayer is the last name of the guy Elaine was married to, so they not just fucked around on the guy, but gave their daughter his last fucking name. It's a good name. And it was around 1920 that Estlin would write one of his most famous poems based on his experiences in the army. This poem is called Buffalo Bills. Buffalo...
Oh.
What?
Nothing, go on.
Buffalo Bills, defunct, who used to ride a water-smooth silver stallion and break 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pigeons just like that. Jesus, he was a handsome man. And what I want to know is, how do you like your blue-eyed boy, Mr. Death?
This guy read too much James Joyce.
It is 1920, so yeah. I believe Portrait of the Artist is the only thing that's come out since then, though. But still, that's enough, James Joyce.
Like, he sounds like he's trying to do something.
Or and Dubliners, I guess. But yeah, no, he's definitely going to start up kind of a beatnik era with this.
Look, I'm not saying I'm not really dumb, but that did just sound like just words.
Yeah, just like James Joyce.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
All right.
Remember, you can't read Ulysses without reading about what the fuck is going on beforehand. Now soon, Estlin moved his family with him back to the city he fell in love with, Paris, living there temporarily from 1921 to 1923. During this time, Estlin would go on to publish 2 books. One, an autobiography of his time spent in the French detention center called The Enormous Room.
Wait, so he's just a cheating cousin fucker, and now he's just moving on with his life?
Yeah.
Wild times. Wild times.
The Enormous Room, published by Boni and Liveright in 1922. Named for the big room that all the prisoners had to sleep in, basically one cell for everyone. And a collection of poems called Tulips and Chimneys, published by Thomas Seltzer in 1923.
I wonder what that one's about.
Tulips and Chimneys?
I guess you'll tell me, right?
You ever get turned on by Georgia O'Keeffe?
Who the fuck is that?
God damn, boy. Never mind.
What do you... No, don't never mind me. You're so grumpy tonight. You're cranky.
She painted a bunch of pussy flowers. She painted a bunch of flowers that looked like pussy lips.
Why would you be angry with me for not having this knowledge?
It's Georgia O'Keeffe.
It's
funny. I figured you would have known it because it's funny.
No. Let's break this down. I was like, who's Georgia O'Keeffe or whatever? And then you were like, she's a lady that just painted a bunch of fucking vagina flowers. Why the anger there? Are these like classic works that I've missed out on? Like, why is this?
I'm in the middle of withdrawal. I've only gotten a few sips off my old English. Now, Thomas Seltzer was a former editor of Boni and Liveright, and had the same goal as his former employer: print whatever you can to give a big fuck you to the New York Society for the Suppression of Vice, whom we talked about at length in our James Joyce episode. Basically, for anyone who didn't listen to it, it was a governmental agency that basically was like, this could muddy the minds of children and women. And like whatever they didn't see fit to publish, they would burn it and give everyone a big fat fine.
Women don't know about this stuff.
The FCC of their day. And I didn't notice this before, but their fucking insignia is of a guy getting arrested while another agent burns books. I looked it up as soon as I found that out. They do sell t-shirts.
Holy shit.
I was like, cool.
What are you about?
Oh, you're a Nazi light. Huh. So suffice it to say, it's new Nazi. You gotta try it first. So suffice it to say, Thomas Seltzer had a few other things on his mind besides the title of Estlin's fucking poetry collection. Granted, the original book was supposed to have 152 poems, of which the final product would only have about half of those, 86. And that wasn't Estlin's issue. The issue to Estlin was how the word "and" in Tulips and Chimneys was spelled, A-N-D. He didn't want that. He wanted it to be an ampersand, goddammit. You know, that squiggly line thing is whoosh, it's "and."
Holy shit, you confused me more.
It's an ampersand.
Can we Google it real quick?
Yeah, pause it.
Okay, fucking yeah. Just say the "and" symbol, you fucking dick. Like
that's what the "and" symbol is called.
Yeah, it's just called fucking "and." You just see it and you're like, oh, that's the symbol for what is the three letters.
What's an exclamation point? Oh, well, why didn't you just call it the because that's what it's called, Caleb. Anyway. Fucking idiot. Estlin wrote several letters out to Thomas Seltzer demanding he change it. But probably because he has better shit to do and also thought Estlin was more than a little annoying, left the title as is. And yeah, it was a stupid fucking tiff, but Estlin never forgot it. He took 41 of the 66 rejected poems from Tulips and Chimneys and published them 2 years later in 1925 under the title "and." It was just the "and" symbol. It was the ampersand. That was the title.
Thank you.
Anyway, it was in Tulips and Chimneys that Estlin wrote his longest poem, Puella Mea, which in Latin means my girl. Clocking in at 290 lines, it would later go on to be published as its own book. It is, of course, all about his girl, Elaine. Now, both
Wait, is that the prostitute or his cousin?
No, that's his cousin.
No, okay.
Yeah, the prostitute's gone. He's moved on from a French prostitute to his cousin. Brighter horizons.
Moving on up.
Maybe moving sideways. Now,
That's down.
Diagonal?
No, down.
Actually, yes. I would agree with that.
I'm holding that point sternly.
Now, hold it too stern.
Fuck you.
Hold it tighter. Now, both The Enormous Room and Tulips and Chimneys came out to great success. F. Scott Fitzgerald, author of The Great Gatsby, even said about The Enormous Room, quote, "Of all the work by young men who have sprung up since 1920, one book survives, The Enormous Room by E. Cummings. Those few who cause books to live have not been able to endure the thought of its morality." And it was here that the whole world knew him by his shortened pen name, and how I will be referring to him from now on. It's no surprise that we're talking about the free-form poet E. Cummings. You ever hear of him?
E. Cummings?
E. Cummings!
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Just making sure.
No, I fucking
Okay.
am.
I figured. I could see the lie in your eyes.
Was it just the dull?
No, it's just when you know something, there's a twinkle of a thought coming from your brain. It's just one synapse just being like, oh.
No,
I recognize that.
Just completely dead.
And just to clear something up real quick, in most of his later works, E. Cummings would always be spelled out in lowercase letters and no punctuation.
I mean, to be fair, if you don't read that much, then someone wants you to read poetry, you're like, wow, this is worse.
Yeah, of course it's stupid. It's poetry. Don't worry about it. It's for the learned. And so, anyways, E. Cummings was always spelled out lowercase, no punctuation. That wasn't a choice he made. It was a stylistic decision made by one of his publishers, and it just sort of stuck. He wasn't actually a big fan of it. He always signed his name in big boy letters. Now, although E. Cummings and Elaine already had a daughter, they didn't officially tie the knot until March 19th, 1924. But after only 2 months, they separated. According to Elaine, she was having the same issues with Estlin as she did with her last husband. He's a workaholic. In fact, her last marriage saw that her husband moved to another city just to get closer to his job, leaving Elaine behind.
Ooh, yeah, it's a bit...
Yeah, well, when she filed for divorce, guy didn't care. So sure enough, when Elaine...
Still got the job. You're a writer. You can literally do this anywhere.
So sure enough, when Elaine filed for divorce less than 9 months from their wedding day, E. Cummings was anything but heartbroken. The only thing he cared about was getting custody of their daughter, Nancy, which, like most cases back then, she was awarded to the mother instead. E. Cummings wouldn't see his daughter for another 21 years. Whatever was he to do? He's a 31-year-old bachelor living in Paris with 2 critically acclaimed books under his belt, and he was fucking fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, you're not gonna... I feel like you don't stop fucking prostitutes. I feel like you don't just dabble in having sex with prostitutes.
Oh, I tried meth once. Liar.
Hey, sometimes you try it and you're like, you know what? Not for me. Not the same with prostitutes. It's not a good comparison.
His time in Paris allowed him to gain a close friendship with some of the great artists of the day, among them Pablo Picasso. He also quickly became a figurehead for the avant-garde movement. He rarely used proper punctuation or spacing for that matter, leaving it up to the reader to determine how it should be read. His frequent trips to Paris, bouncing between there and New Hampshire, introduced him to Dadaism and its younger dipshit brother Surrealism, leading to his more straightforward poems such as this. All in green went my love riding on a great horse of gold into the silver dawn. 4 lean hounds crouched low and smiling, the merry deer ran before. Fleeter be they than dappled dreams, the swift sweet deer. Sorry, I wouldn't want to get you confused. Red rare deer. 4 red roebuck at a white water, the cruel bugle sang before. I'm not going to read you the whole thing.
Dude, I'm so sorry, but every time you're going off onto these, I just don't like this guy's shit, and it's just turning into one solid just sound.
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, to be fair, there is good poetry out there, but he's the James Joyce of poets. So go figure.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm not going to read you the whole thing for that one, but basically he went from poems like that to a strange version of slam poetry like
the
this.
Hound stuff was cool,
and
I guess. Like,
this
I
is perhaps his most famous poem. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I am never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear, and whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beautiful you are my world, my true. And it's you are whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here is the deepest secret nobody knows. Here is the root of the root and the bud of the bud in the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that's keeping the stars apart. I carry your heart. I carry it in my heart. How'd that make you feel?
Well, this dude had mad game. Like, there's there's no...
I mean, no one was making something like that before and thought, yeah, I could publish that.
It's just really surprising to me that somebody that would... I mean, unless he's got to be pretty funky looking to not get pussy if he's writing poetry like that.
He looks like any noir villain, really. I mean,
no, it just surprises me. It's like, out of all the options that you have here, your cousin, even just for a little bit...
Yeah, he was pretty young, though. I mean...
Still...
Yeah, but he wasn't a poet yet. Remember, he was like, I mean, he was doing poetry, but he wasn't like a published poet until like he had, as soon as he published, they got divorced pretty much, which is the best time, honestly. And I'll be honest, I do like E.E. Cummings stuff if I'm in the right mood for it. Like when I first read E.E. Cummings, I was visiting my grandparents in Wisconsin and it was like fucking storm season and it was storming hard. And it's just so warm and cozy. And my grandparents are retired. So what do? They wake up and they have booze. And and I was having booze with them. And we were all quiet and reading as it was storming outside. And we're all drunk at 8 a.m. And it was perfect.
Yes.
But I cannot be like, oh, fuck, man. Hand me that E.E. Cummings. Like, no. Like, it's not an anytime kind of
Give me
mood.
the old E. Cummings.
Give me that, ew! And here's the thing about poets. They're going to print a lot of work. And I understand it is difficult because whereas somebody who writes short stories can have, say, 20 short stories in a collection, you pretty much just need to have one scene in each story that's impactful. Then people will remember that story regardless of anything else that happens in it. You know what I mean?
What?
You remember At the Mountains of Madness for its 6-foot albino penguins and the Shoggoth attack in the cave.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But not the 80 pages leading up to that point. Meanwhile, poets will sometimes have up to 100 poems in a collection, and sometimes, well, fuck, they can't all be zingers. But whereas most poets wouldn't throw their work into a collection unless they were confident of its merit, no one was really sure if E.E. Cummings felt the same way.
Did you shit post his poems?
He said all his work mattered, but with his poems always being a weird jumble of words, it was hard to tell exactly which ones he gave a shit about and which ones he just sort of made a word salad with and tossed it into the book, you know? As fellow poet and friend Edna St. Vincent Millay would say about E.E. Cummings, quote, "You give Mr. Cummings enough rope. He may hang himself, or he may lasso a unicorn." That's like they're all poets. That's look, not all quotes can be zingers either.
That's pretty much just like, yeah, he's kind of an ass, but he's gonna make me money, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Like,
in 1926, his parents were in a car crash, taking his father's life. Quote, "A locomotive cut the car in half, killing my father instantly."
Well, what? I'm sorry, back that up. I was sipping my beer.
A locomotive cut the car in half, killing my father instantly. He's talking about the events that transpired, killing his dad. When two brakemen jumped from the halted train, they saw a woman standing, dazed but erect, beside a mangled machine, with blood spouting, as the older said to me, out of her head. One of her hands, the younger added, kept feeling her dress as if trying to discover why it was wet. These men took my 66-year-old mother by the arms and tried to lead her toward a nearby farmhouse. But she threw them off, strode straight to my father's body, and directed a group of scared spectators to cover him. When this had been done, and only then, she let them lead her away. She would go on to live 21 more years, passing away on January 15th, 1947, at the age of 87.
How How do you get hit by a train on foot?
Well, they were in a car.
Oh, okay. My bad. You described it like she was standing there and then got covered in blood, so.
Yeah, most people I describe as a locomotive cut the car in half. That's usually what I say.
God damn, I am not on my game tonight. Shit.
Now, in 1927, Cummings put on a play at the Princeton Playhouse in New York City called Him. In his early days of writing the story, the play was something closer to a semi-autobiography, but after reading through 2 books by Sigmund Freud back-to-back, perhaps as a weird coping mechanism for his father's death, the play quickly became one of the first surrealist plays ever put on stage, or as it would come to be known, theater of the absurd. The play was in 3 acts, with a cast of 30 people playing a total of 105 different characters. Just as an idea of what his play was like, the play opens with the doctor operating on a woman while 3 people in rocking chairs knit and have nonsensical dialogue. To anyone who's curious, the play is printed in paper form, so you can get a copy of Him by E.E. Cummings if you want, but me? No. And of course, since the whole fucking play is nonsense, it got shit reviews from critics from the very start. But remember, this was the first play of its kind, so people still flocked to see it. It ran for 27 shows, and only stopped because it was too expensive to run. With all the crazy shit happening on stage, it meant that having a full house would ultimately lead to them just breaking even each night. Eventually, the acting troupe behind Him began selling a pamphlet called Him and the Critics for a little extra scratch, which was just all their shitty reviews printed on paper. Nice. It's a neat little souvenir. I looked, though, couldn't find any copies floating around out there. I would have wanted one. On May 1st, 1929, E.E. Cummings married a woman named Anne Minnerly Barton. He was 34, and she would have been about 31. Not a whole lot more to say about it. Now, in the 1920s alone, E.E. Cummings published 4 books. Tulips and Chimneys in 1923, Ampersand in 1925, 51 Poems in 1925, and Is 5 in 1926. The title is derived from one of his poems saying that love makes 2 + 2 is 5. But in this collection in particular, I know.
Fuck.
Is 5 is perhaps one of Cummings' most famous poems, Since Feeling is First.
Holy shit.
Since feeling is first,
That was a new noise.
who pays any attention to the syntax of things will never wholly kiss you. Wholly to be a fool while spring is in the world. My blood approves and kisses are a better fate than wisdom. Lady, I swear by all flowers. Don't cry. The best gesture of my brain is less than your eyelids flutter which stays. We are for each other, then laugh, leaning back in my arms, for life's not a paragraph. And death, I think, is no parentheses.
What was it called again?
Since feeling is first. Most of his stuff didn't have titles, so people just called it after the first line.
No, okay.
In 1931, E.E. Cummings traveled to the Soviet Union, detailing his adventures in the 2 years later in the 1933 novel, it's spelled E-I-M-I. It looks like you would call it Amy, but it's actually the English letters closest to the Greek letters that spell I am.
Because.
Yeah.
Just to be fucking about it. Like,
I'm not a surrealist, I'm a Dadaist. Shut up, hipster. Using the regular abstract sentence breaks and punctuation he's known for, E.E. Cummings creates an account of his 1-month journey to the Soviet Union. He did this partly as a way to make the reader feel just as lost and aggravated as he did while he was there and not knowing the language. Now, at
so
first,
this is going to be especially aggravating.
It's like reading Finnegan's Wake, except you know what is happening. Like, you know what is supposed to happen. But yeah, there's just like a bunch of like quick parentheses and shit like that. Or like, as he's walking down the stairs, it's like walking down the stairs, where it's like stair-shaped paragraph. I know. But hey, this was 1933. All right. He was clearly inspired.
Cringe knows no time period, Jordan. Like, oh shit.
Now, at first,
God, I've really castled myself in with these beer bottles here. Fuck, dude. You're boring the fuck out of me. I have nothing to do but drink. And it's a problem. Get fucked.
It's just a sandbox of alcohol. Oh, no.
No pussy allowed.
Get out. Now, at first, he was all into experiencing something new. An old friend from Harvard was actually living there at the time and invited him over to show him around at the Soviet Union. And Cummings was apolitical at the time. Had no problem with any of it.
None of it?
None of it.
None of it.
At first. But
Okay.
after seeing how much the government was suppressing artistic freedom and how shitty the living conditions were, he got into a humanitarian debate with his friend and ended up never talking to him again. Like, in the book, he just, like, walks off and just, like, has to find housing elsewhere. He's like, I can't live with the fucker. Like, from then on, he would only refer to the Soviet Union as hell. Originally, I Am was supposed to be a travelogue, which people could take with them on trips, help them get around the city. Instead, the book became a scathing review of communism.
Do you feel better knowing that another person had an awkward, not fun time?
Yeah. It just opens, what are you doing here? Afterwards, although people often still see E.E. Cummings as a counterculture figure, became very right-wing. He loved the idea of McCarthyism. He loved McCarthy. He was like, yes, kill the commies. He loved it. And after 5 glorious years of marriage, E.E. Cummings and Anne Minnerly Barton separated in 1934. What was he to do?
Wait, how long?
5 years. What was he to do? He was a nearly 40-year-old bachelor, several critically acclaimed novels under his belt, winning awards left and right. He was fucking fine. It was in that same year of 1934 that E.E. Cummings shacked up with fashion model Marion Morehouse, someone he'd been friends with for a couple of years by that point, and although they never formally married, would live together until his passing.
I don't feel like this is the kind of guy that is just friends with.
No. Come on. This is just my model friend.
No.
What?
I'm just really not vibing that.
So what if I've got a house that you can't go to? Big deal. It's my workspace. It's an office.
That's just where I keep my weird anime shit and my model side pussy. Okay? Like,
in 1935, Cummings released a poem collection called No Thanks, self-published by E.E. Cummings himself, and dedicated to the 14 publishers that turned him down. Well, the spine of the book was at the top instead of the side, so you had to read it like a fucking legal pad. Maybe that's why they turned you down, Eslan. In the 1930s, I do like that he called it that,
has he
though.
Has he gone like hard fascist right at this point too?
No. He's not
Okay.
he's not. Well, it's hard to. No,
That's
you know
a
what? He's
thin line.
Biden. No, he's Biden, right? You know, he's like,
Ooh.
yeah. I mean, I'd say he'd go as far as Nixon, but probably not Reagan.
About as fucking coherent as well. So
This kind of reads like a Reagan speech, actually. Where am I? Are you my daughter? I'm sorry, wouldn't want to make fun of Reagan.
and then when I say walk down the stairs, it moves. When you look at it goes down like a step.
He slowly starts turning into George Bush. You know what they say? You fool me once, you can't get me twice.
No, that's not what he said. Remember?
I know what he fucking said.
No. Because that's so much better than what you said.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
You can't fool me
can't
twice.
fool me twice.
Oh, adorable.
Man,
I miss him.
when he left, I was like, I'm gonna kind of miss the amount of news I was getting on our president.
Remember thinking that was the worst thing ever? And
Right?
just and looking back, and you're just like, that's so adorable that I thought that.
I know.
Like,
I was like, well, no one's
shit.
gonna be worse than that guy. In the 1930s, Cummings had altogether published 3 collections: Viva in 1931, No Thanks in 1935, and Collected Poems in 1938, which was just a collection of his earlier works plus a few new ones since his last published work was 3 years earlier. In 1944, Cummings released a book called 1 times 1, which has some poems that can be a bit bleak.
Oh, fuck.
Remember, he wasn't a fan of war when he was in World War I. Now that World War II was coming to a close, Cummings only saw shit getting worse. Among these poems is one of Cummings' most well-known, Pity This Monster, Man Unkind, which, before you ask, was indeed the inspiration for the 2016 song Man Unkind by Metallica.
I don't like Metallica.
Me neither. But
Especially
it was
not 2016 Metallica. Holy
the
shit.
good years.
God damn, dude.
Look, it was on the Wikipedia page. I thought it was funny.
Look,
anyways,
post Cliff Burton, it's ass. Don't do it.
I don't even know who the fuck that is.
It's the guy who made it good, and then he died.
It was never good. Doesn't matter.
No, fuck you. Kill 'Em All was fucking good. Kill 'Em All was good.
No. Okay, we're gonna look at this from the perspective of like E.E. Cummings. Was it good for the time? Or looking back on it, is it still good?
No. Kill 'Em All's still good. Ride the Lightning.
Look,
Master
when I have
Puppets, pretty good.
when I have a 16-year-old someday, I'm going to prove you wrong and be like, listen to this shit, and he's gonna be like, Father,
By the time you have a
sucks.
child and it's 16, he will have ascended so far past that.
Anyways, here's the poem. Pity this monster, man unkind.
Holy fuck, bud. Should we get a rapid test? How you doing? Should we be in the room right now?
Pity this busy monster, man unkind.
Jesus.
Not. Progress is a comfortable disease.
Oh my
Your
God.
victim, death in life, safely beyond. Plays with the bigness of his littleness. Electrons.
I play with the bigness of my littlest all the fucking time.
Stop it. Electrons would defy one razor blade into a mountain range. Lenses extend, unwished through curving where when, till unwish returns on itself. A world of made is not a world of born. Pity, poor flesh, and trees, poor stars and stones, but never this fine specimen of hyper-magical ultra-omnipotence. We doctors know a hopeless case if, listen, there's a hell of a good universe next door. Let's go.
It sounds like a Bloodborne note.
How do you manage to shoehorn that into every conversation?
Look, I'm a simple man. I go to work. I come home.
I play Bloodborne.
I play Bloodborne.
From releasing 4 books in the 1920s to releasing 3 in the 1930s, E.E. Cummings released just 2 books in the 1940s. 50 poems in 1940 and 1 times 1 in 1944. He was definitely slowing down. Now, nobody really talks about this, but Cummings was actually a fantastic artist. He mostly dealt with ink and charcoal drawings, but I highly recommend people go check his stuff out.
He did that shit too? I thought he was
Yeah.
just a poet.
No, I didn't know it either until I was looking at the stuff, but yeah, he was actually a fantastic artist. I think he could have earned artistic merit on his drawings alone, actually. I mean, he was hanging out with Picasso and other people in the scene, why not? But in 1946, he was, through a weird series of events, commissioned to do a portrait of his own daughter, Nancy.
Oh.
And during his painting session with her, just in a casual conversation, he's like, hey, did you know I'm your dad? And she had no idea.
Is it this too? Is it this portrait?
You know, shit, I don't know, maybe.
That's her face.
Oh, that's probably her just shocked, like, what?
Wait, no, I need a different expression to work with here. Hang on. Hey, did you know I'm your fucking dad? There it is.
She thought the guy whose middle name she had, Thayer, was her dad. Elaine's ex-husband before E.E. Cummings.
Wait, how did he know? Never mind. Sorry. Proceed.
He tried to get custody of her. And she'd been doing just fine, by the way. She was currently married to the grandson of Theodore fucking Roosevelt and would later go on to marry this crazy archaeologist. Well, anyway, this chance meeting with Nancy allowed Cummings to meet his grandkids for the first time, and he kept contact with her for the rest of his life. And from this meeting, E.E. Cummings was inspired to write a new play, one about the morality of man and holding on to the things which are important to you. And I'm not going to go into it, because the play is called Santa Claus, and it's about Santa Claus and death trading jobs for a day, and it sounds like it would have been hilarious, but it's not.
Dude, maybe it's just the way you're describing it. I've
No,
consistently hated
it's-
this guy's shit throughout this entire
Right.
episode.
Well,
man.
exactly.
Like, it's not even, it's not hate that, like, draws a response that I can use to have a conversation with you with energy. It literally drains me
right.
when I hear this
Here's
shit.
the thing. When his play Him was supposed to be semi-autobiographical or whatever, and it's just cuckoo bananas.
It sounds like unintentional Tim and Eric.
Oh man, Tim and Eric's way better.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, because it's intentional.
No, man, the shit on their cutting room floor would do better. But that's the thing is, like, it's a play. Like, he tells you it's a play about Santa Claus and death trading jobs, and I'm like, I am there. We are gonna get stoned, and we're gonna go see this tonight. But no, it's a fucking philosophical play, and it's boring, and I'm salty
You're
about
gonna go
it.
and you're like, man, I wish I would have stayed home and made nachos.
Yeah. So if you're inclined, go read it yourself. But I refuse to. In the 1950s, Cummings released 3 works. Care, 71 poems in 1950, Poems 1923 to 1954 and 1954, which was again just another collection of earlier poems plus a few new ones from the last few years, and 95 poems in 1958. So Care is like I am, Greek letters anglicized to their closest English equivalent, although spelled Xaipe, it's pronounced care, which in Greeks means greetings, be well.
I believe you.
Yeah. Now in Care are a couple of problematic poems, which I will read to you now. One day a blank caught in his hand a little star no bigger than not to understand.
Oh, is it the no word?
It is.
Oh.
I'll never let you go.
Hey, everybody, remember, he went hard right.
Until you've made me, I'll never let you go until you've made me white. So she did, and now stars shine at night. The stars will always shine because, you know, black guy's never going to turn white.
I really like how you like built me up there, and I was like Googling like his charcoal paintings and stuff, and I was like, okay, maybe this guy isn't boring as shit, and then I was like,
now you know the K word for a Jewish person, yeah?
Yes.
All right. The other one goes like this.
Oh. Fuck, dude.
A K word is the most dangerous machine as yet invented. Be even Yankee ingenue, itty, be out of a Jew a few, dead dollars and some twisted laws. It comes both prigged and canted. No, but look, it means nothing.
That took more years away from my life than my drinking problem.
It means nothing, and yet he's still like, oh, I better be offensive about it.
Is he just trying to get views at this point? Or whatever the equivalent of that back then is?
According to him, he wrote these poems as a way to show that one racial slur is not better than another. Which, one, wrong, but two, people were turning away from calling...
Don't act like you couldn't have put a disclaimer on it. You did this intentionally, you fuck.
People were turning away from calling black people the N-word and Jewish people the K-word, and yet people were still saying things like Mick or Chink or anything else. So supposedly, he was trying to say, why stop at one if you won't stop at the rest? Great message. You didn't need to do it that way.
It's wild that you can have such a crazy use of the English language and then not be able to fucking read anything about that topic.
Here's the thing. This would be a great message, except in his 1922 book, The Enormous Room, he drops the N-word a couple of times without prompt. Like, not quoting anybody or anything. It's how he describes something.
It's not.
What
do you mean it's a good message?
To not call anybody anything
he's
bad.
Saying,
I get it.
No, he's saying that...
Oh, but he is saying, like, oh, they're all class S drugs, basically. Whereas, you know, it's
not. No. The fucking N-word and then the Jew word...
The
Jew word are equal to calling an Irish guy a fucking Mick.
I know. Yeah, no, they're not at all.
Even in context of the time, that's not a good message.
No,
like
of course not. And that's what I'm saying is like I get his message is don't be shitty to anybody.
How old is he at this point?
Look, he was born 1894, something like this. This is in the 50s, so he's in his 60s.
Okay, he's losing it.
But he's been through the times. He is losing.
He's fucking losing it.
I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, at the end of The Enormous Room, on top of this, like all this don't be mean to others and don't be shitted to other people. At the end of The Enormous Room, he refers to America as land of the flea and the home of the dag, short for Dago, of course. I mean, he became a different person in the 28 years since The Enormous Room, maybe. I don't know.
What the fuck is a Dago?
It's an Italian. You know.
Thank you. Okay, now that
Dago Wop Guinea. Yeah. Yeah. But it's still just like, bro.
Well, those are fine. That's for Italians.
Yeah.
But see, not equal.
The first poem in his final collection, 95 poems, is I, A leaf falls onliness. The way it's written mimics the action of a leaf falling and a reflection of one's loneliness. Actually, hang on one second.
I haven't hated anything you've shown to me more than this.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Sorry. It's L. A leaf falls. Oh, there we go.
He's a
here's
right-wing racist.
So this is the whole poem. A leaf falls loneliness. You see how it goes? It all goes down like...
Holy shit. This guy is to blame for Live, Laugh, Love. It's his fucking fault. Yeah, he's to blame for Live, Laugh, Love and Comic Sans too. Why don't we throw that in there? And he says the N-word.
Well, as much as you may make fun of it, this was the type of wordplay that cemented E.E. Cummings into the pantheon of poetry.
I mean, whether it did or not, it doesn't mean...
Yeah.
I'm just saying that sucks that it did.
Throughout the 50s, Cummings spent his life traveling and speaking at ceremonies, becoming the most recognized name in poetry in the United States, right behind Robert Frost. In 1959, at the age of 64, Cummings won a grant from the Ford Foundation for $15,000 for his lifetime of work. With this, he managed to enjoy his final years at his family home of Joy Farm at Silver Lake in New Hampshire. On September 3rd, 1962, Edward Estlin Cummings passed away from a stroke at the age of 67. His partner of almost 30 years...
Wait, no, he wasn't losing it. He just sucked.
Yeah. His partner of almost 30 years, Marianne Morehouse, held on to his memory until her death on May 18th, 1969, 7 years later. Joy Farm was later added to the list of National Historic Landmarks in 1971 in commemoration. My sources today: The Enormous Room by E.E. Cummings, Modern Library, Inc., 1949. I Am by E.E. Cummings, Liveright Publishing Corporation, 2007. 100 Selected Poems by E.E. Cummings, Grove Press, Inc. and Random House, Inc., 33rd Printing, 1977. A Selection of Poems by E.E. Cummings, Harcourt, Brace and Cord, Inc., 1965, in Wikipedia.
Is it over?
You can follow us on Twitter at Caleb Can't Read. You can go on to calebcan'tread.com and you can see our sources on the Facebook page. Caleb Can't Read sources page.
All right. Okay. New rules. New rules. Okay. You know how I'm not allowed to pregame anymore because of the, the disasters that have happened? And I've stuck to that.
Yeah.
Except for that one time. Mm-hmm. But that's pretty good stats for me. Okay, pretty good percentages for me. All right, I want you to know that actually means I care quite a bit.
Okay.
New rule: we are not allowed to meet up the day before and have a hangover that carries us all the way into the next fucking evening.
Honestly, that's why I'm excited for us to hit stop on this so that I can drink and kill the
just get it out, dude. Like,
no, man, it's But E.E. Cummings really became like the beatnik generation. Like, he was the poet. Like, he's a reason that you have people on bongos and cafes being like, I am a leaf.
Fucking cringe.
I am cringe.
Oh my god, white people drum circles.
No, I mean, he needed to happen, though. That. He's the reason that we have that one Tumblr poet that did Milk and Honey. It's a really bad book. But anyways, all the white girls were buying it up at their local Targets for a long time. I can't remember why, but anyways.
I have not disliked going over anyone as much as this man.
Oh, man, we're going to hit some rough spots.
No. Like, this guy, I have never disliked, but been so disinterested at the same fucking time with anyone that you fucking brought up.
I'm glad you enjoyed our episode today.
I'm disappointed in you.
Look, if anyone's made it this far,
I doubt it. I don't think this is gonna be. I think the first fucking 15 minutes or so, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, this is an off one," and just not fucking go. Because we took a break and went and fucking got coffee and shot the shit, and we were like, "Oh yeah, having a great fucking time," and then came back and we're like, fuck.
It's because I had to stop drinking. Look, just don't break my shit, okay?
I'm not gonna break your shit. You act like this is a thing I do. It's not
starting
a thing
to become a habit.
No, I did it one time. That's the only time I've broken your shit.
Once isn't a habit.
No, it's not.
I've
No,
only
that's
caught
actually-
yourself touching yourself once, but you know what? I know it's a habit.
That does not.
Oh.
That does not apply to accidentally breaking
Listen,
glass.
if you're here now with us, just listening to us, I just want people to subscribe, hit a button or something. It's not going to, like, if you get an alert that there's a new episode or something, it's not going to fucking fuck up your life. It's going to be fine, but you know what?
What would be way
It
more
helps
fun
us.
is if you find some kind of fallacy in what Jordan has looked up and then message us about
Yeah,
it.
fucking message
And then
me.
we will absolutely bring that up
I've
in an
gotten
episode.
0 dick pics. 0 dick pics.
Back to the dick pics.
At calebcan'tread@gmail.com.
Please, I mean...
0.
The best thing you could do would be to give a detailed description of his mistake, and then down at the bottom have dick pics.
You know what I've gotten have been
That'd be
emails
really
of
funny.
people like, "Hey, I like your show, but I think I could help you if you pay me money. I can really." And it's like, "Oh, no." I usually send them a dick pic back, but
What, you don't want to go take a class for podcasting?
no, they just want me to pay them so that they'll put advertisements up.
Oh,
I don't want to advertise like that. No.
no, that's
No.
like pay to play. That's lame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anywho,
Suck it.
yep, deuces.